Hi, I'm Laura from Sewist Abroad, and welcome to day one of our Rainbow Hexie Quilt Along. So I have my, well, at least one of the ones that I did here right behind me, so you can kind of see what we are working towards here. So since today is day one, we're starting off with the very basics, which is going to be getting our hexies all cut out and ready. And yeah, just leading up to day two. I guess that's what day one would be for anyways. Before we start, you should have downloaded the supply list, which is on the Facebook group under the files section. And with that, it'll give you the fabrics that you needed, the amounts anyways, and what you need to cut them, like prepare your cuts for. So we are cutting our background fabric, which is the main one, which is this one right here. We are collecting all of our scrap pieces and making sure that we at least have 2.5 inch squares to create our hexies. Then we need our background fabric, which I have a nice blue one here for. We're going to be cutting out our binding before we start as well, and getting our batting cut. So once you have all that stuff, then we can get ready and we can start doing our day one prep. Okay, so here we are. Let's get ready to start making our hexies. First thing that I'm going to do is go through a few of the things that I like to use. Some of these, most of these I should say, are on that supply list that I mentioned in the introduction. And one or two things I think are just like little extras that are nice to have. So the first thing that we are going to use, or I'm going to show you how to use when doing this, is a glue stick. I know, really fancy, right? Here I have, you know, brand name glue. I actually really prefer no name glue sticks. And the reason that I do is because it's, the hold isn't as strong. So if you get any on your paper, it is easier to pop your papers out when you're, I find anyways, when you're using no brand. So that's our first thing that we're going to use. The other thing that I am going to show you how to do is to needle baste your hexie. So, you know, you need a needle and some thread. Okay, I have my embroidery scissors. Then I have my paper hexies. Now I had a friend cut these for me and she used cardstock. I do prefer cardstock in the long run because you can use them multiple times, so that's always nice. But if you don't have a friend that you can beg to cut hexies for you, I also have a little template that is up in the files section on the Facebook group. And once this is all over and done with, I'll transfer all this stuff over onto the blog so it will find its permanent home there. So these are 1 inch hexies that you can just print out and cut out for your templates. Then I have my quilting cotton. I'm going to go through the basics of using quilting cotton, and then at the end of the video I will give you the hack on using your CL scraps for all of us who have a love for custom print CLs. I know that we save every single last scrap for good reason, and this is a great way to use it. Then also, I will mention that when I'm using quilting cotton, so you want to make sure that you at least have a 2.5 inch square, and I like to pre-cut mine out into a hexie shape. You don't have to, it's just nice. Okay, another thing that we need, sorry, we're gonna need a few wonder clips. Okay. I like the clips because you can take them, like, again, I actually use them for my everyday sewing. I prefer them over regular pins. If you don't have them, the little mini binder clips work well too. Now this is a want, not a need to get this job done. This is a 1 inch hexagon plexi ruler, or acrylic ruler I should say. And what I really like about these is that it's perfect for fussy cutting. So fussy cutting is when you have a print, or like a piece of a print that you really want to highlight. This is awesome for making sure that you get it in your hexagon. You can make sure that it's in the middle, you can make sure that it's offset, either which way, you can see what you're cutting. The other thing that I really like about this is that it has the seam allowance worked into it, so you'll always have enough fabric to wrap around your paper template. So that's nice. But again, this is a want, not a need. And if you get addicted to hexagons, which I kind of hope that you will because they're pretty sweet and they're cute, this might be something that you want to invest in. You can find them on Amazon. You can find them at any quilting shop. Like, they're everywhere, and they're not expensive. So the other thing, I misplaced it. I'll find it. If you're doing the CL scrap hack, you are going to need some interfacing, but we'll get to that at the very end of the video. All right, let's get this show started. So to get started, you are going to need your paper hexagon, and we're going to do the glue method first. Okay, so let's start with this fabric here. Okay, I get my glue stick ready. Boop-a-da-boom. Alrighty. So we're just going to make sure that the paper is in the middle of our fabric of choice. Get my wonder clips out here too. And the first thing I'm going to do is fold down the very first piece here. So I'm folding it along the first edge, and I'm going to clip it. Okay. Then, so when you're glue basting, or at least I find when I'm glue basting, I'm going to try to avoid getting it on the paper as much as possible. The reason for that is because if it's on the paper, it makes it a little bit more difficult to pop the paper out at the end before we sew them down or tack them down onto our main fabric. And if you get a lot of glue on it, then you're going to rip it, and I like to get as much use as I can out of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm applying the glue right to the edge that I know I'm going to fold down. So you don't need too much. Okay, so I put some glue there, and then I'm just going to fold this over. I got a nice mitered edge there around that corner. I'm going to press and hold, and then move on. So here we are, we're wrapping it around the edge of the paper. Okay, apply a little bit of glue right here, just on the edge. I'm gonna push that out of the way. Okay, and fold it down. We got a nice miter edge here. Hold on to that. And move all the way around the hexie. So we'll do it like this. I mean, if you do get some glue on the paper, it's not the end of the world. You're just gonna have to work at getting the paper out, and that's that. It's a little bit of a finesse. You learn it as you go along. So we're gonna push that over, hold it down, and here we are. We're right at the beginning. We made our way around, so I'm gonna get rid of this wonder clip because I don't need it right now. And here we are. This part always reminds me of an envelope, so that's the shape that you're kind of ending up with. So we're going to apply our glue to both sides here, and then we just fold it down. So I'm going to take this, fold it over. I hold it for a little bit longer at this end, and because I have two edges here, I end up putting my wonder clip back on. See? And then I let it sit. So we're going to put that one aside for now. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to go through is the needle basting. Okay, so this is the fabric that I'm going to use for this one, and I have my paper hexagon. So we're going to start it the same way. We're going to make sure that the paper is in the middle, and we're going to fold our very first edge down over top of the edge, or over top of the paper, sorry, and we're going to clip it. There we go. Now I am going to take my needle and thread. I don't knot mine at the end because I find that you just don't need to do it. I just leave a longer tail when I start. This is perfect for using up all of those bits and bobs and those weird thread colors that you're left over from projects. So we all know that we have those stashed away somewhere. You know, like that neon orange thread that you used once for Halloween and now you don't know what to do with it. This is where you want to use it. So same thing, I folded over the first edge, used the clip to hold it on. Now I've folded over the second edge and I have a really nice mitered corner here. And what I'm just going to do is baste it in. So I'm going to take a little nibble out of the top fold, a little nibble out of the bottom fold. Okay, hold on. I'm going to leave myself a long tail. So that's that. Now, when I first start, like on my first fold, I always put in 2 stitches. Okay. Now that's going to hold it, and we're going to move over to the next one. So I'm folding that fabric over, and I'm folding over the second edge. I got a nice miter, and then we're just going to take a nibble and put a little basting stitch in there. So there's some from the top, there's some from the bottom, and we pull her through. I originally started needle basting all of my hexies, and then I moved over to glue. And the reason that I did that is because I like to do this at the end of the day when I'm sitting on the couch and watching TV, and I'd rather watch TV than focus on what my fingers were doing, so that's how I got into glue basting. But this one is just as good. I kind of like, this one's less messy, let's put it that way, because I'm not the cleanest crafter, so I always end up with sticky glue covered fingers. So we're just going to do this all the way around a little bit. Of course, now that I'm videotaping it, I'm having a really hard time hand sewing it. Isn't that the way it always goes? All right, so we're left with our envelope at the end, so we're going to get rid of this clip. Right, we're going to fold this over the last piece. Okay, we're going to take a nibble here and put a single stitch. And then on our last one, I will do 2 stitches. Can hear my 5-year-old sassing through the walls. Like, just like everybody else, we're home more than what we want to be. And our 5-year-old has discovered his attitude. I'm sure we're not the only ones. So there we go. Needle basted, glue basted, they look the same. So it's just for whichever method that you end up liking. Now, when I finish all of my hexies, what I like to do is give them a really good press. So I'm going to move these out of the way real quick. Here is my impromptu ironing board. Yay towels. Okay, so I'm just going to put these down, and I'm going to give this a press with my dry iron. Now I have this on the highest heat setting, and as I mentioned, it's dry, so you're going to give it a press. You don't want to move your iron around all over the place because you're going to distort your edges. Just give it a nice solid press. Would you look at those? Look how perfect they are. Look at those edges. See how nice and crisp that is? So this is the needle basted one. Here's your glue one. See, they're just really nice and crisp. Okay, let's put those aside. So you got 2 done, 58 more to go. That's nothing. You've got this. Now, in that quilt that I showed off in the introduction, with that one I used 60 hexies. The second one that I've worked on, which we'll show in later videos, that one only used 35. I think 35. So it really depends on the layout that you end up with or that you choose. Depends on how many hexagons you're going to use, but 60 is a really good base to start with. Plus then you will have more, or like a little stash started. So, okay, so let's do our CL scrap pack. So here I have some, this is actually a athletic knit that I'm using, and I had a square of interfacing somewhere here, but it is probably hiding. So let me pull out, I keep all of my interfacing scraps because you never know when you're just gonna need like a little piece, right? And today it has finally paid off. So, here we go. I got a little bit, this is just regular lightweight woven interfacing SF101. So if you make bags, you got a lot of this stuff going on. So I'm just going to make sure that I have a good square cut. Boom. Okay. Get my trusty impromptu ironing board out here, and we're going to apply it to the back of my fabric. Yeah, this is like perfect for, you know, those custom knits that you get and you just love every single last bit of it and you never want to waste any of it. This is perfect for it because you're only really taking a 2-inch or so piece out of it. So like you can use every single last piece, every single last scrap. That's always exciting. Okay, so I have my interfacing applied and now I'm just going to take my hexagon and I'm going to trace it on the back. This would be actually really good for little hands. Like if you've got little helpers around and you can trust them with a pen. Mine aren't there yet. But you know, I'm sure somebody's kids are. Then you get them to do all of this work and then you just show up with your scissors. All right. And now we're just going to cut that out. Where are my big scissors? So the interfacing is doing a few things. One, it's preventing our stretchy fabric from curling on the edges. Right? Two, it's stabilizing it so now we can sew it as if it was a woven. And you don't have to do any of that basting. There's a bonus. Okay, let me get this out of the way. There you go. Look at that. How pretty is that? Right? A nice little 1-inch hexagon. What I really like about this is like, look how it highlights just the details out of the fabric. Let me see if I've got a scrap of this laying around here. I do. So when you have a large print like this, I mean, it's beautiful and it has movement and you look at the entire picture, right? But what I like about hexies is that it forces you to focus in on the little details. And that's what I really like. To me, it's like putting a picture in a frame. Because, like, would you really focus in on the texture of this one or how, you know, the shading of that bee, or would you really like take it in and appreciate the splatter mark or the brush strokes of this one by bringing it down to such a small piece? Your eye immediately focuses in. So this is why it's really cool for fussy cutting. Okay, so that's day one. I've shown you how to get your hexies prepped and baste it onto your paper templates. If you're doing the CL scrap, we applied our interfacing, traced it, and cut it out. So now you just have to do that, you know, however many times to get your 60 hexagons. And then I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we are going to be taking the papers out of our hexagons and applying them onto our background. Thanks very much for joining me, and I will see you tomorrow.